Hey everybody. I talked yesterday about this book.
Well, maybe yesterday. We don't know when this is hitting. we talked in a video about this book.
Exposing Communism and Restoring Freedom. You are not going to be able to restore freedom in America until you have rooted out all of the communism that has taken root everywhere. And if you do not think that has happened, you
tune in and find out why it has.
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you a little history briefly. The 45 current communist goals were read into the congressional record on January 10th, 1963. The text was introduced by Representative Albert S. Herlong Jr. of Florida. The list of goals was identified as an excerpt from the 1958 book, The Naked Communist, written by this author. The entry was made during the 88th Congress first session. I heard about that when I first heard about this book a few years ago, so I went into the congressional record of 1963. Anybody can do that. I wanted to see it with my own eyes. I wanted to fact check it. Trust but verify. So why would somebody want the 45 current communist goals to be read into the United States congressional record in 1963? January 10th. And oh, by the way, when was JFK assassinated? Do you know? November of 1963. So this was just a little bit before then. It is there. I did verify, and I did print it off, and it is in a file.
For proof in case it ever goes
because I am weird like that. She can tell you how many files I have.
We have tinfoil hats, so... We'll just give you that disclaimer now that if you're not one for something that people would categorize as tinfoil hats, you're probably not going to want to be here, because that's definitely some things we talk about.
Things that people have said are tinfoil hat things, but they are very real, very true, and I have verified them.
Yes.
It's not a tinfoil hat when you can read in the congressional record in 1963 this list. So this isn't just some book that, they say that this happened. Nope.
It actually happened.
It actually happened, and it
is for real.
It's written in there. As described in the congressional record, Patricia Nordman's motivation for having the 45 current communist goals read into the record was to alert the American public to what she saw as the dangers of communism. By inserting the list into the congressional record, she intended to bring the alleged communist subversion goals to a wider, more official audience in the United States. Look up the definition of subversion. It is very important that you understand that word. Everybody probably thinks they understand it to a degree, but we really need to read the official definition of it, like the Oxford definition of it.
The undermining of the power and authority of an established system or institution.
So, intended to bring the alleged communist subversion goals, the undermining of the power and authority of an established system or institution, to the official audience in the United States. She needed people to know there is a plan to undermine the power and authority of the United States and its institutions. Be aware this is happening. This is what she needed us to know. And there were enough people in power in DC at that time to say, okay, there's enough proof for us to read this in to the official record. And she also was afraid that it would be buried and all of the proof that we ever had that list would disappear.
Poof, and there it goes.
And she knows that in the Library of Congress, she believed, she said this in an interview, she believed that there was one place that they could never remove that it ever existed, and that was the U.S. congressional record, because that goes back to our very first Congress. So she was so fearful that it was going to be disappeared that she did everything she could. She owned a small newspaper in Florida, but she made sure that her U.S. representative for her district in Florida read that in so that we could look back in 2025. We can look up that congressional record from 63, and there it is. It's proof. It's real. The fear of communism and the belief in internal subversion was a long-running national issue, particularly strong during the Red Scare years of the 40s and 50s. The 1963 reading came almost a decade after the passage of the 1954 Communist Control Act and at the peak of Senator Joseph McCarthy's anti-communist campaign. He tried desperately to reveal what was happening in America at that time. He failed. The intelligence community was able to brainwash enough of America that he was a kook, and little by little it disappeared. When I told you to look up If I Were the Devil, that was also in 1963. There was a lot happening in 1963, and that was Paul Harvey's way of trying to wake up America, because that list, when he talks about If I Were the Devil, a lot of that you're gonna hear when we read this. So Yuri Bezmenov, I'm gonna add him in here before we read the list. Yuri Bezmenov was a former KGB propagandist who defected to the West in 1970. Another thing that's on YouTube, if you look up Yuri Bezmenov, I'm gonna have her put his name in here so you know how to spell it. There are a few videos of him from the 1980s when he's declaring the subversion that is well underway and everything that's happening in America. You can hear it. I remember the first time that I saw one of those videos, I thought to myself, I was 14 when he said this. This all could have been stopped back then, but nobody did anything. Nobody did anything. And we're not going to get into all the tinfoil hat reasons of why we believe that things weren't. So he was a former KGB propagandist who defected to the West in 1970 and spent his later life warning about Soviet psychological warfare tactics aimed at undermining Western societies. Although he died in 1993, his lectures and warnings about ideological subversion have recently renewed interest online in recent years. Early life, he was born in 1939, attended this place, Soviet propaganda. We know his history. We know he was a press agent where he was a propagandist for the KGB. And then in 1970, he defected to the West while stationed in New Delhi, India. He left behind a wife and a young daughter, so he left his whole family. The defection was facilitated by a coordinated effort between the U.S. and Canadian security agencies. So he was working on behalf of Russia in New Delhi in 1970, and our intelligence, as well as Canadian, was able to secure him, get him out, and bring him here. And that's why we know what we know from Yuri. And Yuri is right in alignment with everything that we learn in here. And that's why I brought him up, because this is one source, and then Yuri Bezmenov says all of the same. So I'm going to have her just go down the list, and you keep track in your mind. Yep, that happened. Or yep, that's happening now, or that hasn't happened yet. and see what you think.
Just put a checklist. You can write a checklist out 1 through, 25?
45.
Sorry, 1 through 45.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put a check mark by all the ones that you think have happened or maybe haven't happened. Don't leave the ones that haven't blank, and put a check mark by the ones that you believe have. And then the other thing that I was going to say as she was talking about this is, who's to say that we don't have foreign operatives in the United States? That's such a untalked about subject, because it's taboo that could ever happen to us. But the fact of the matter is that it's not that unrealistic.
Nope, not at all.
I will flip to this page and get to reading.
Hopefully the more that you learn from us, this actually, I hate the word normalize, but this truly, what I'm trying to do is normalize the understanding of communism. Normalize that so that you can...
And not such a weird well, that's
right.
old-timey stuff. No, it's not. It's now-timey stuff.
It's the only way that we're going to gain our freedom, is if we can root out what has been being planted here for 100 years.
All right. So current communist goals. Number 1, U.S. acceptance of coexistence as the only alternative to atomic war. Oofda. U.S. willingness to capitulate in preference to engaging in atomic war. What's capitulate?
Look up what capitulate is.
I am reading, so you're going to have to just tell me.
Comply.
Okay. Develop the illusion that total disarmament by the United States would be a demonstration of moral strength. Yikes. Permit free trade between all nations regardless of communist affiliation and regardless of whether or not items could be used for war.
So a better understanding of that is when we had trade restrictions with communist China, which used to be called Red China, but now, of course, they're just normalizing China as this nice, fun place, and they make all of our stuff. And Temu, yay! Shein, woo! Even though there are 2 million Muslim Uyghurs that are enslaved to make your Temu and Shein garbage. There should be no trade with China. There should be no trade with Russia. They are communist. There should be no trade with Brazil. There should be no trade with Venezuela. 0. There should be no trade with communist countries.
Number 5, extension of long-term loans to Russia and Soviet satellites. Number 6, provide American aid to all nations regardless of communist domination. Number 7, grant recognition of Red China, admission of Red China to the UN.
That hasn't happened yet, but the warm relations with China, with everyone, they could just as well be for real.
Number 8, set up East and West Germany as separate states in spite of Khrushchev's promise in 1955 to settle the Germany question by free elections under supervision of the UN. Number 9, prolong the conferences to ban atomic tests because the U.S. has agreed to suspend tests as long as negotiations are in progress.
Some of these first ones sound boring, so bear with me, because once she flips the page,
it's going to get interesting.
It's gonna get hot, but these
Number
first
10,
ones are boring.
Allow the Soviet satellites individual representation in the UN. Number 11, promote the UN as the only hope for mankind. If its character is rewritten, demand that it be set up as a one world government with its own independent armed forces. Some communist leaders believe the world can be taken over as easily by the UN as by Moscow. Sometimes these two centers compete with each other, as they are now doing in the Congo. Number 12, resist any attempt to outlaw the Communist Party. Number 13, do away with all loyalty oaths. 14.
Do you know what that means? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Is that in our schools anymore? That's a loyalty oath.
14. Continue giving Russia access to the U.S. Patent Office. Number 15, capture...
Why is that important?
I guess I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
Say it again.
continue giving Russia access to the U.S. Patent Office.
Why should they have access to the patent office where how can we have dominance over a communist country if they can have access to all of our patents, all of our inventions, all of our technology?
I see.
Why? Why are we doing that?
So Russia doesn't have access to our patents, is what you're saying.
We're going to research that before I speak.
Okay.
I don't want to misspeak.
Right. 15. Capture one or both of the political parties in the United States.
Both are captured.
Yeah. 16. Use technical decisions of the courts to weaken basic American institutions by claiming their activities violate civil rights. That's definitely happening.
And that's court capture. That's judicial capture.
Yeah.
And that's already been happening. You can't have lawfare if you haven't had that capture.
17. Get control of the schools. Whew, that's already happened. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Get control of teachers' associations. Put the party line in textbooks. Yikes. I don't know. I don't think they've put party lines in textbooks yet, but I think a lot of the rest has already happened, which is why I'll be homeschooling children.
Democratic Socialists of America, DSA.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever think that there would be anybody that would outright call themselves a socialist?
No.
In our country.
And be proud of it.
Because there is no such thing as socialism.
I'm a socialist.
Socialism is only the gateway to communism. There's no such thing as socialism. All they do is use that word to soften it.
Yep.
So that people say, I'm a socialist.
Socialism is communism.
Yep.
End of story. 18. Gain control of all student newspapers. 19. Use student riots to foment public protests against programs or organizations which are under communist attack.
We've been watching that for 4 years,
Forever.
5 years.
Yep. 20. Infiltrate the press. Get control of book review assignments, editorial writing, and policy-making positions. 21. Gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. 22.
That's happened.
Yeah. Continue discrediting American culture by degrading all forms of artistic expression. An American communist cell was told to eliminate all good sculpture from parks and buildings, substitute shapeless, awkward, and meaningless forms.
Make things ugly.
And
take
that is
beauty out of our
Look at the difference
society.
in architecture now versus, early 1900s.
Just make do a Google search for Barack Obama's presidential library, and they call it brutalist architecture.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to crack on a president because
No.
he's a Democrat. I'm just saying that is a current
That's the time period.
style.
Yep.
And when you look at that garbage, everybody in Chicago says that it's the most horrific thing to look at. It's done on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Put that up against the presidential library of, and I don't even know what it looks like, Eisenhower or Nixon in Loma Linda. I don't know what theirs looks like, but take a look at the two and see the difference.
Number 23, control art critics and directors of art museums. Our plan is to promote ugliness, repulsive, meaningless art, and that has 100% happened.
And the first time that I even realized that there was something very wrong happening, it was in the 90s. There was put in a gallery, and of course I didn't know anything that was going on back then. I'm not even sure if I was a mom then. Just had one little one. I don't think she was born yet. There was a big controversy about art, that a piece of art that was put in a real gallery in New York City of a jar filled with urine and a cross put in it.
So, pee on Christianity?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that's meant to be?
And that was accepted into an art gallery. I'm sure that you can Google it and find it. It was a controversy for a very long time.
Yeah.
And when I saw the Democrats defending that, I was a Democrat at that time, remember. I saw them defending it, and it's like, what on earth are these people doing?
That's wild.
So there's that.
Well, and if you even just look at today's art, the difference between what art used to be and what it is now, you can duct tape a banana to a canvas and that's art now. Or you can just put random colors on a canvas and call it art. Or, there's just all kinds of...
or look up Monet.
Yeah, or look up Monet or Da Vinci or, any of the greats.
Music.
And see what the real art is supposed to look like.
Music.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Taps into our spirit. That God spark that I talked about that's in everybody. Music can reach that the way that words cannot. Art in some people can reach that in ways that others can't. There are people that can look at a beautiful piece of art and cry because that art touched that God part inside of them and brought them to tears. They need to make sure that doesn't happen. Everything needs to be ugly and everything needs to sound disgusting.
Same thing with the frequency of music has changed in the last, I would even say, since the 2000s. Early 2000s, I think, is when a lot of it started changing, like late 90s, early 2000s. When the frequency with which music was produced changed from what resonates with the human body to what resonates with, it doesn't, the words I'm trying to find evade me, but basically our body doesn't receive it the way that older music we do. And there's a lot more. She did a
deep dive into that one time.
There's a lot more to that. So if you're interested in that, you can look it up. There's stuff that proves it and talks about different frequencies and what it does to your body and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, look it up. Or if you're truly interested in it and you want us to do an actual show on it, just let us know in the comments. 24, eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech and free press.
And I've been fighting that here in my state. We have been fighting that. You know what? That's another show.
It is.
We'll bring that up.
We'll go over number 24 in depth and how that is affecting the United States right now.
And I will bring the first bill that went into our Congress a few years ago that I personally was the person that got that in.
24 and 25.
And then the
26.
next one, we tried again. So I'll bring both of those bills. I'll tell you exactly how it went down at the Capitol. I'll tell you all of it, and I'll bring the books so that you can see the obscenity, and I'll read the obscenity laws of North Dakota and how there were eliminations that were taken. This is obscene except for libraries and schools and art galleries and museums.
Yep.
It's obscene for everything else. So yeah, that's that
Stupid.
I have been working on for 3 years.
Number 25, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. Number 26, present homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. So all three of these are things that we'll talk about in that episode.
And were written in 1958.
Not an accident.
As a communist goal.
We don't believe in coincidence. This is 100% factual. Like, this is real. It's not made up or something that we're just trying to scare you. Like, no, this is real. 27. Infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion, discredit the Bible, and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity, which does not need a religious crutch. This is the one that we talked about in the previous episode, and you can hear my thoughts on that in the previous episode. It will be podcast number 7. 28. Eliminate prayer or any phase of religious expression in the schools on the ground that violates the principle of separation of church and state.
And I'm glad that they said principle there, because that is their own communist principle, progressive principle that was set forth It was never in the Constitution. It was in a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote back to the Danbury Baptists. I can't remember the year, so I'm not going to say it for sure. I think I know, but I'm not going to say. When he told the Danbury Baptists, do not worry, with this Constitution is not going to infringe on your rights of the freedom of religion.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was never meant for churches to stay out of state affairs. It was always intended
state to stay out of church.
Exactly. It was for the state to stay out of the church,
but
not vice versa.
Just as the devil always does, he takes something, twists it, perverts it, and then pushes it and pushes it and pushes it until good people just let it happen.
And that's where we're at. 29. Discredit the American Constitution by calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, out of step with modern needs, a hindrance to cooperation between nations on a worldwide basis. And this is happening as recently as 2 years ago, where they're saying that the Constitution is no longer applicable to today because it's too old. It's outdated. Not true. Not true even a little bit. 30. Discredit the American founding fathers. Present them as selfish aristocrats who had no concern for the common man. Yep, that happens too. Belittle all forms of American culture and discourage the teaching of American history on the ground that it was only a minor part of the big picture. Give more emphasis to Russian history since the communists took over. Support any socialist movement to give centralized control over any part of the culture, education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics, etc. And that's 32. I've been forgetting to say the number. And
the socialist garbage has swept through our nation forever. Mm-hmm. And it's all of our Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, all of that has just been completely captured.
33. Eliminate all laws or procedures which interfere with the operation of the communist apparatus. 34. Eliminate the House Committee on Un-American Activities. 35. Discredit and eventually dismantle the FBI. 36. Infiltrate and gain control of more unions. 37. Infiltrate and gain control of big business. Dun, dun, dun.
Chinese Communist Party has done that part
big time.
More than the Russians. CCP
Where
has
do we
captured
get everything from?
From China.
It says made in
China,
not the U.S.
Here's one. It can say Vietnam. It can say it can say Thailand as well. Know this.
Taiwan.
Yep. Taiwan is still fighting for their own freedom. But Vietnam and Thailand are two places that China tries to get around the tariffs.
Yep.
And they shove things through Vietnam. So when you see made in Vietnam, it's truly coming out of China. Same thing with Thailand.
And then it says, 38, transfer some of the powers of arrest from the police to social agencies. Treat all behavioral problems as psychiatric disorders, which no one but psychiatrists can understand or treat.
And what did the BLM movement push for?
What'd they push for? Oh, to disband all cops, like get rid of cops.
We need social work. We need social workers going out to these calls.
Why?
Do you know where the number one place is that police officers get killed? Domestic disturbances.
Yep.
But they want to put social workers in there? Nope. Read that again now that you know that.
Transfer some of the powers of arrest from the police to social agencies. Treat all behavioral problems as psychiatric disorders, which no one but psychiatrists can understand or treat.
And we know that the 3 lesbians, that's black lesbians that started, as Jesse calls them, started BLM, they call themselves trained Marxists. Marxism,
that's
communism.
Not us saying that.
No.
That's from them.
Yep.
39. Dominate the psychiatric profession and use mental health laws as means of gaining coercive control over those who oppose communist goals.
And we see mental health hospitals, asylums shut down,
Which is a huge
state hospitals shut down. And then all we do is cry about everybody's mental health.
But there's nowhere to go get help for your mental health.
Isn't that strange, huh?
Number 40, discredit the family as an institution, encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. And that's exactly where we're at in society now. You are, now it's called slut shaming. And then they say, I don't need no man because I'm a strong, independent woman. So they have completely discredited family, and they have completely discredited, you know, I don't want to say virginity, but abstaining from
modesty.
Yeah, modesty and abstinence. They have completely discredited those things and what they can do for you.
And then parents are told, don't even put that standard out for your child.
Yeah.
This is a different world. They live in a different world.
It's not unattainable, and I'm living proof.
Yeah.
You know how I know I'm living proof? Proof because I waited until I was married, and so did my husband.
And how old were you?
We got married at 28.
So how you mean you didn't poof and turn into dust?
I had just turned 29, but he was still 28.
So you didn't turn into dust by not having sex before you were 29?
No, I did not. Crazy how that works.
How did you miss out on all those years of having sex with people?
I just wasn't I can't say the word on here because it's a swear word, but I wasn't.
So do you feel like you missed out?
No, it's not what I focused my life on. I focused my life on building a life for me, getting financially stable, and being ready to be a good partner to a husband, whoever that was, and then waiting on God's timing to bring me the right husband and trusting in his timing for my life.
And she graduated in 2014 and she got married in 2025 and was abstinent
my entire life.
Period. So don't say it can't happen now, because it literally happened
my husband,
now.
Not just me either, my husband as well. And his was not so much faith-based. His was just a choice that he'd made.
Morality.
Yeah. And
people can have morals apart from faith.
And now that'll be something that we also teach our children. And it's a beautiful thing. And there's so much crap out there of, well, why would you buy a car that you haven't test driven?
Stupid.
So dumb. It doesn't matter, because if you have nothing to compare to, then it doesn't matter.
So this is a question that I've never asked, and I probably never would ask, but I'm going to ask right now for the people.
Oh, I'm scared.
Because I don't ask these questions because I don't care, but for the people, they need to hear this. That's why I'm asking.
Sure.
So if both of you never did anything with anybody before, how did you know what to do? Did you figure it out?
Yep, sure did.
Was it okay?
It's fantastic.
Huh. Okay, there it's answered.
I mean, it's pretty
How
simple.
How you going to know what to do?
Pretty simple biology. That's all I have to say. You'll figure it out. Pretty instinctual. I mean, you'll know. You'll know. That's all I have to say. You will figure it out.
And I only ask that question because I don't want those guys to have that question.
Yeah.
Period.
It's nothing to be afraid of. Because I will say, even as someone who went through it, there's always that little part of you that's like, oh my gosh, like, what if? You have all the what ifs that run through your mind. And I am here to tell you that those what ifs are a lie from the devil. Because they're not true. That's why I had to. I've lived it, and it's not true. He will try to scare you into immorality. Don't let him do it. Because I can promise you that it's super worth it. It is so super worth it. And it's really beautiful too, because when I was 12, I got a purity ring from my mom and dad, and the purity ring, I got to pick it, the design and everything, and I wore it well into my early 20s. When I started getting different jobs that you couldn't wear jewelry, I didn't get to wear it as often, but I always had it. And the ring that I chose had 3 very small diamonds. And those small diamonds had always purposed to go into my husband's wedding ring when we got married.
To give her purity to her husband.
It's a physical, I'm getting emotional now, but it's a physical representation of the love that we share. And so this is dumb.
It's not dumb.
So it's
beautiful.
It's so beautiful, and it's so worth it. So don't let stuff like this try and brainwash you into believing that it's not beautiful and that you're missing out because you're not. And I'm living proof that you're not. I would never change it in a million years. Oh, goodness. Let me get myself together. Okay. 41. Back to communists.
Back to communists.
Back to communists. Yeah. 41. Emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents. Attribute prejudices, mental blocks, and retarding of children to suppressive influence of parents.
Suppressive influence of parents.
Yeah.
And that's what we see now with the children that want to identify as a different sex can do it in school, and the parent has no right to know that, because if the parent finds out, they may try to do something different because they're suppressive.
And that's
so now
why
there are
that's
laws
why in
that say
California
that you
they can trans your kid without you knowing.
And Washington,
And
state
if
of Washington
you
as
don't,
well.
if you don't affirm it, they will literally take your child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's insane. It's your kid.
Yep.
42. Create the impression that violence and insurrection are legitimate aspects of the American tradition. That students and special interest groups should rise up and use united force to solve economic, political, or social problems. 43. Overthrow all colonial governments before native populations are ready for self-government. 44. Internationalize the Panama Canal.
And the whole fight that you have saw early on with Trump and the Panama Canal, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because he knows these as well.
It's not just because Trump is cuckoo. It's probably because Trump is
it was internationalized, and the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, owned both ends of it. It had already happened, and Trump said, not anymore.
Big problem for us, for sure.
Because he's having to try to unshoot this gun, rewind this stuff.
So explain why this is important, because I didn't understand why this was important until I was like, why does it matter who owns the Panama Canal? So go ahead and tell them why it matters.
It matters because we live in this hemisphere. And for us to move our military from the West Coast to the East Coast, we're going to have to go through the Panama Canal, unless we want to go all the way down to around Tierra del Fuego, which is a whole lot of time. It's a time waster. And
it could be crucial if there were to be such a need for us to move military.
So moving through our military, they were charging us about $450,000 per boat going through bigger boats.
Barge or something?
Some were ships.
Ships, okay.
They ranged from $300,000 to $450,000 going through there.
The CCP was charging us.
Correct.
Okay, just to be clear.
And then they were getting that money. So we were giving a communist country
money for us to move things through.
For us to move in our own hemisphere. Sheesh. China has no business in our hemisphere because we have something called the Monroe Doctrine. We're going to probably want to do a show on that as well. So you understand the Monroe Doctrine in saying that there can be no communists rolling around in our hemisphere. And we have every right to boot them out. China is entrenched in Brazil, entrenched in Venezuela, entrenched in Panama. And we're fighting that entrenched in the Arctic Circle. That's why do you think he's talking about Greenland?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
We're trying to push communists out of our hemisphere.
That's a big reason that they're talking about Greenland, because we've got the Russian subs in the Arctic Circle.
Yes.
Right up above us, just hanging out.
So we'll talk about our
hemispheric. Easily get down
defense.
Here to us.
Yeah.
And not a lot of time to do so.
Our hemispheric defense, the Monroe Doctrine, we'll put that on the docket because it's important to you have to understand.
Take a note maybe so we don't forget.
Geopolitics of the world.
I don't know anything about geopolitics. 0%. I am at 0%. She's at probably, I don't know, what percent would you give yourself about geopolitics?
Maybe 20%.
Yeah, so she's got a good 20% on me, but I know zero, like I said, about geopolitics. So if you also don't know anything about geopolitics, you can learn at least 20% more.
And things
with us and with me.
Things will make more sense to you when some weird things comes out.
Yeah.
And the propagandists, because they can propagandize us now since 2012, that say he's trying to take over Greenland. He's trying to do this in Panama Canal.
There's
a reason.
It's not just because he wants to land grab. That's not even at all what it is.
Do you want to know the reason why? Here's something that probably not one person knows this. Maybe Mur, if she remembers me telling her. Why did one of the first things he did in office was to rename Gulf of America instead of Gulf of Mexico? Why did he do that, Mur?
I don't remember.
Now, the propagandists are going to say he has a big ego. He wants everything to be about America, blah, blah, blah. One of the things that the entrenched deep state does, the administrative state does, is stops everything by regulation. They can stop any forward motion on anything in any of our industries by regulation. So they had regulated stopping all of our, remember Aunt used to work out on the rigs, the oil rigs out in the Gulf of Mexico. So we had a lot.
America.
Yeah, but it was the Gulf of Mexico.
I know.
That's important. So all of these stops were put in place, over 80 of them, by the Biden regime, stopping us from pumping any oil in the Gulf of Mexico. But there was no stoppers on anything called Gulf of America. So how did he get around all the regulation right now to start pumping? He changed the name of the body of water. So
boom,
he's not going into the Gulf of Mexico. He's going into the Gulf of America. Genius. So we were able to pump because the name was changed. Has nothing to do with his ego. Has nothing to do with, America deserves this or that.
It has everything to do with cutting the red tape so that we can pump our own oil.
To get the energy that we need and get the prices to come down on oil, gas and oil and natural gas. So that's just a little tidbit.
So yeah, we'll read the last one here. 45. Repeal the Connolly Reservation so the U.S. cannot prevent the World Court from seizing jurisdiction over domestic problems. Give the World Court jurisdiction over nations and individuals alike.
And that's scary, and I haven't researched that. So
that is number 45. I would love to hear in the comments what number you got on your checklist of how many of these have happened. Maybe there were some that we missed that have happened. And if you had some of those as well, we'd love to hear about that in the comments too, and some of your takes on what we read.
And if you want to know more about any of those, put those in the comments or send a message as well.
Yep.
And we'll answer those for you.
And you can email us. I will put that link as well. So our audio got very scratchy at the end of this video. So the ending here was just saying, if you are interested, you can email us at carry.the.torch.365@gmail.com. And we were just wishing you well in your day and hoping that you enjoy this part 1 of the Naked Communist series. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye-bye.